welcoming their delegation. And the race to reach the moon's south pole between Russia and India is on, as Moscow is set to make a lunar mission comeback after nearly 50 years since its first successful lunar landing in 1976. These and more for tonight's edition of Newsline World. And first in our news, the Department of Budget and Management is pushing for the urgent amendment of the Procurement Reform Act amid the Senate's scrutinization of the proposed national budget for 2024. Here is Hannah Jean Sancho for the news.
Budget Secretary Yna Mortel is actively pushing for revisions to the long-standing Republic Act 9184, commonly known as the Government Procurement Reform Act. This effort aims to assist government agencies in overcoming challenges related to procuring programs, activities, and projects. These issues have been identified as significant hurdles in efficient government spending. Secretary Mortel emphasized that the proposed amendments to the Government Procurement Reform Act are ready for presentation to President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. during the cabinet meeting next week. The Budget Department added that the amendment aims to make government agencies spend and use their budgets better, with Secretary Mortel stressing its importance. If the President approves the measure, a physical copy of the revised bill will be submitted to both the Senate and the House of Representatives for filing and consideration. For God and my beloved country, this has been Hannah Jane Sancho, SMNI News.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development faced no difficulties defending its proposed budget for the coming year. This comes after gaining support from the majority of lawmakers who attended the agency's budget briefing. Here is a report from Jade Calabroso.
A budget briefing of DSWD and its attached agency, except NCIP, is hereby approved or terminated.
The proposed budget for the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, for the next year quickly passed the House Committee on Appropriations. DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian himself participated in the deliberations of the committee on the 2024 DSWD budget, which was terminated faster than usual due to a case of parliamentary courtesy. Majority of lawmakers who attended the budget briefing expressed their support for the agency's proposed budget.
On behalf of the 1st District of Albay and the Province of Albay, I wish to thank Secretary Rex Gatchalian and the DSWD family for immediate and continuing assistance to the Mayon evacuees.
We usually afford special courtesy here for former members of the House. Secretary Rex is a member of the Congress, 19th Congress, and my colleague in the 14th, 15th Congress, and 16th Congress. So matagal-tagal din natin kasama dito. Shall we go through the process of hearing his budget?
I move at the proper time not only to approve the budget of Secretary Rex Gatchalian, DSWD, but to increase the budget, as we need more of social services and social assistance to our people.
To borrow the words of George W. Bush, read my lips. He will deliver. He will deliver for this nation.
Una sa lahat, nagpapasalamat ako sa House of Representatives sa pamumuno ng ating Speaker, Martin Romualdez, pati na rin ng ating mga membro ng Appropriations Committee. Nakakataba ng puso na in-extend nila yung courtesy na dahil dati akong membro at napagbigyan tayo na mapabilis yung pag-approve ng budget natin sa subcommittee level.
Under the 2024 National Expenditure Program, or NEP, the proposed budget for the DSWD, including its attached agencies, is over 209 billion pesos. This amount is 5.2% higher than the over 199 billion pesos allocation for the DSWD under the 2023 General Appropriations Act. The largest portion of the 2024 DSWD budget is allocated to maintenance and other operating expenses, amounting to over 196.3 billion pesos. This includes funds for the social pension and the Philippine Food Stamp Program. Coming in second is the allocation for personal services at over 10.4 billion pesos, while 354 million pesos is allocated for capital outlay to be used for purchasing ICT equipment and software. Among its attached agencies, only the Presidential Commission for the Urban Poor and the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples saw an increase in their budgets for the next year.
Siyempre, mas malaking budget, mas maraming programa. Pero alam din natin na limitado ang resources. So kami as a DSWD, ang mandato namin, siguraduhin na magamit ng tama, mabilis, at dapat yung nakakaabot sa ating mga mahirap na kababayan na kliyente ng departamento.
One of the new programs of the agency is the Walang Gutom 2027 Food Stamp Program, which aims to reduce the incidence of involuntary hunger. The program is targeting to provide digital stamps to 1 million poor families and vulnerable sectors.
Tapusin muna natin yung pilot kasi doon nakaangkla ang tagumpay o pagpapalaki ng isang programa. Kung maganda yung maging resulta, then papalakihin natin. Pero siyempre, pag hindi, subukan nating ayusin.
For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Jade Calabroso, SMNA News.
The legal team of TV personality and broadcaster Jay Sonza has spoken out regarding the cases filed against him. Let's find out more about this report from MJ Mondihar.
Jay Sonza's legal team clarified that the cases filed against him are merely attempts to tarnish his reputation. Recently, Sonza's mugshot went viral on social media. He is currently in jail due to charges of fraud and illegal recruitment. According to his lead counsel, attorney Israelito Torion, the cases against the former broadcaster have been dismissed.
Na-dismiss na yung non-bailable offenses na chinard sa kanya sa RTC Branch 100 at saka sa RTC Branch 215, no? Dismissed na ito. Actually, August 8 pa lang nung yung sa RTC 215 dismissed na, pero hindi namin in-announce kasi in the hope na hindi naman talaga ito totoo na kaso, pero na news na kasi. So ngayon ipaalam namin sa madla na yung non-bailable offenses dismissed na.
There were 13 cases against Sonza. 2 of these were non-bailable, which his legal team has already explained. The remaining 11 cases of ordinary fraud are bailable cases. This means that Sonza could potentially be released from detention soon. The cases against Sonza originated from his time as a corporate officer in a land-based manpower agency. However, he was only part of the company for a year, and the company's involvement in the case spans a shorter period. 7 individuals were charged, but only Sonza was highlighted in the media. Sonza's defense maintains that there are no direct complaints against him.
Marami silang finailan, actually 7 sila, mga corporate officers, because at that time, naging corporate officer nga totoo for 1 year si Sir Jay Sonza. But 2004 pa lang, nung tumakbo siya as a politician, no? Hindi na siya involved dyan. Tapos yung complainant, nangyari daw 2007 and 2008. So, nagtataka nga kami kasi even if you will read the affidavit complaints, wala talagang specific overt acts, no, na describe doon kung anong involvement ni Sir Jay Sonza.
Sonza is known as a staunch supporter of former President Rodrigo Duterte. His legal team questioned the timing of the case filing in 2015, which was during the peak of Duterte's campaign.
2015 po, kasagsagan ng kampanya. Doon pa lang. Tapos yung alleged incident happened in 2007 and 2008, 7 or 8 years before the alleged incident. So as to why was it filed in the middle of the campaign in 2015, hindi natin alam yun.
Currently, Sonza's legal team is working to secure his release as soon as possible and to prove that the allegations against a former TV host are unfounded smear attacks, especially considering that Sonza has a pulmonary chronic condition or asthma. The legal team also has a message to Sonza supporters.
Sa lahat po ng taga-suporta ni Tito Jay Sonza, wala pong katotohanan yung ipinaparatang sa kanya. Huwag po kayong mag-alala. Ginagawa po namin ang lahat ng aming makakaya para makalabas na siya sa kulungan. At mangyayari po yun within the day or tomorrow.
This coming Friday, Sonza's legal team will again face the court with one mission: to tell the truth and once again clear their client. For Government of Philippines, I'm Jay Mondihar, SMNI News.
In other news, the House leadership confirmed the office of Arnolfo Teves that received the notice regarding the decision of the House of Representatives to expel the former legislator. Here's a report from Jade Calabroso.
The House leadership sent a letter formally addressing Arnolfo Teves Jr. of his expulsion as a congressman or a member of the House of Representatives. House Secretary General Reginald Velasco said the said letter was received by Teves' office on Thursday.
We have just released the letter, addressed to our, we call him now Mr. Arnolfo Teves Jr. Pinareceive na namin sa office niya, informing him, through the office about the decision of the plenary by a vote of 265 to 0. That he has been expelled as a member of the House of Representatives.
Velasco further explained that Teves staff might also be affected as they could be removed from his office in the House unless they are rehired by the new caretaker of Teves district.
Yung physical office niya kasi, it's still there, and then yung staff niya. But our policy is all the staff of a congressman, all of them are coterminous. Ibig sabihin, at the end of the term of the congressman, they will have to vacate the room, or they have to leave the office, unless they are rehired by the caretaker,
Now that Teves has been expelled as a member of the House of Representatives, Velasco clarified that the House leadership will decide on who will become the caretaker of his district, which was temporarily taken over by Speaker Martin Romualdez when Teves was first suspended.
Waiting the leadership, the House leadership decision on who will be the caretaker of the district. In the past, usually the neighboring district of the congressman concerned or congresswoman concerned is the one appointed as caretaker.
Arnie Teves is the second congressman to be removed from office. Former Dinagat Island Congressman Ruben Ecleo Jr. was previously removed from office after being found guilty of graft by the Supreme Court. Teves' expulsion was officially imposed on Wednesday, August 16, with a vote of 265 in favor, 0 against, and 3 abstentions. The decision was read in the plenary by House Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez. Teves' violation of the Code of Conduct amid his application for political asylum in Timor-Leste, his continued absence, and his disorderly behavior shown in a video of him dancing in boxer shorts, which went viral on social media, were among the reasons for his expulsion. According to the House policy, expulsion is the highest disciplinary action taken against a erring congressman. But when asked if an expelled congressman can still run for election, the Secretary General's response was,
So, wala tayong precedents to cite So, we don't really know whether he'll still be eligible to run for the elections. But, alam mo, the final word dyan will have to come from COMELEC. So, we will have to make another decision kung expulsion will cover other punitive measures, So again, this will it will depend on the House leadership.
Teves is implicated as mastermind behind the killing of Negros Oriental Governor Ruel Digamo and other murders in the province. Recently, he was also declared as terrorist by the Anti-Terrorism Council along with his alleged armed group. Reporting from Batasan Complex for God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Jade Calabroso, SMNA News.
We've got a tragic story here. In just 24 hours, wildfires in Tenerife and Spain have ripped through around 4,450 acres of land. The said fire started in a nature reserve on the northeast coast of the island on Tuesday evening. Authorities say 10 helicopters and around 250 firefighters and military personnel are battling to contain the blaze in the region. However, containment efforts have been hampered by difficult terrain in the affected area with deep ravines and heavily forested areas in Candelaria and Arafo, posing a logistical challenge for firefighters, according to Fernando Clavijo, president of the Canary Islands. Quote, the fire is powerful and is in a complicated area, end of quote. He said this to journalists during a news conference. Thousands of people in at least 5 villages have already been evacuated as the flames continue to spread, reports say. Meanwhile, Rosa Davila, president of the Tenerife Council, called on residents and tourists to stay away from the area to prevent any incidents. She also announced that access to the mountains have been closed while speaking on a local radio station. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin raised concerns about what he calls a possible expansion plan in Asia. He also claimed that the U.S. is seeking to reformat interstate relations within the Asia-Pacific. Jane Cognita reports.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has expressed concerns over NATO's potential expansion plans in the Asia-Pacific region, suggesting that the military alliance could integrate with AUKUS. But what exactly is AUKUS? It is the acronym for the Trilateral Security Pact between Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. And this pact was signed in late 2021. But its main objective of supplying Australia with nuclear-powered submarines has evolved to address the growing influence of China in the Asia-Pacific region. In fact, last week, a top Pentagon official said that Australia's vast territory makes it an excellent choice as a future testing ground for advanced hypersonic and long-range precision weapons under the AUKUS Pact. Meanwhile, during the 21st International Security Conference in Moscow held earlier this week, Putin criticized what he perceived as the United States' efforts to reshape interstate relations in the Asia-Pacific to serve its own interests. According to Putin, the United States is seeking to reformat the system of interstate interaction that has developed in the Asia-Pacific region. He further emphasized that calls to develop Indo-Pacific strategies are aimed at creating military-political associations controlled by Washington, saying that Moscow is not ruling out the things that are leading to the full integration of NATO forces with structures being created within AUKUS. Putin's remarks were part of a broader critique of what he calls a neo-colonial West, led by the United States. The president believes the U.S. is attempting to delay the emergence of a multipolar world by sowing stabilization and tensions across various regions. He highlighted that many countries are ready to defend their sovereignty, national interests, culture, and way of life, while new economic and political centers are gaining strength, and argued that these trends could form the foundation for stable and progressive global development. Russia, according to Putin, remains committed to reducing global and regional confrontations and advocates for a multipolar world order based on international law. He also urged for a move away from geopolitical adventurism, calling the move a selfish, neo-colonial action of the West. However, Putin noted that amid this global shift, conflicts are being exacerbated in various regions. He accused NATO member countries of enhancing their offensive capabilities and expanding into domains such as outer space and information warfare, using both military and non-military means. Reporting, this has been Jane Cognita, Yna News.
The Prime Minister of Australia is set to defend the country's controversial trilateral security deal with the U.S. and United Kingdom in a national conference scheduled on Friday. Saja Haza reports.
The showdown is set to on decision-making conference on Friday as disapproval over plans to invest in the nuclear-powered submarine grows. Under the Britain will supply Australia with 8 submarines. The former headed that military vessels will help deter China from invading Taiwan. Australia is preparing to spend billions to fight a war not of its own. The Chinese state media has accused the AUKUS partners of pure Non-Proliferation Treaty or NPT and warned that UK should embark on a path of error and danger. Richard Marles is planning to introduce a 32-paragraph statement conference, while several lawmakers are expected to pass motions against the act. The debate surrounding AUKUS comes at a time when I'll be in China sometime this year. Reporting from Sydney, this has been Yna News, Australia.
The Prime Minister of Solomon Islands declined a request to meet two representatives of the U.S. House of Representatives, but what is the reason why he was unable to talk with them? Shayna Salim has the details.
Members of a high-profile U.S. congressional delegation focused on competition with China were unable to meet Solomon Islands Prime Minister Manasseh Sogavare during their recent visit to the Indo-Pacific, which included a trip to Australia. U.S. House Representative Neil Dunn of Florida and U.S. House Delegate Amoa Amata of American Samoa visited the Solomon Islands earlier this week, stating that failure to meet Sogavare was a missed opportunity. A press release from the House committee said the Prime Minister failed to meet the American delegates for a reason that he was unable to make time in his schedule. The visit comes weeks after Sogavare met Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing, where the two leaders signed a raft of deals covering development, trade, infrastructure, as well as policing. The police cooperation deals allows China to maintain a police presence in the Solomon Islands for another 3 years. The two leaders also agreed to establish a comprehensive strategic partnership and signed an agreement to allow expansion of China's Belt and Road Initiative. Sogavare also signed a security agreement with China last year, which earned criticisms from the United States, Australia, and New Zealand, although Beijing and Honiara have denied the possibility of a Chinese military base in the Pacific nation. Australian think tank Lowy Institute reported that China is the Solomon Islands' biggest trading partner and became its second largest official development assistance donor in 2021. The visit comes amid a growing struggle for influence between the U.S. and China in the Pacific region. Reporting from New South Wales, this is Shayna Salim, SMNI News, Australia.
In another surprising move, Russia has released more evidence about the supposed biomilitary activities carried out by the United States not only in Ukraine but also in other countries. Carla de la Peña tells us more.
Did you know that water is the only drink that can quench your thirst? Drink Galilee Purified Drinking Water. Every bottle undergoes advanced scientific process to ensure a safe, clean, and pure bottle. So what are you waiting for? Drink Galilee drinking water. Every bottle is a labor of love. For delivery, contact 0956 658 4195 or 0961 751 6515. You can also call 8253 1594 or 8453 2902.
We don't need to explain because truth needs no justification. We are not afraid because the truth will always win. When we ask questions, it's always for the good of all. We question to build, not to break. We question to clarify, not to confuse. We question to protect, not hurt. Truth hurts, but it heals. Tune in to SMNI, where truth is free. SMNI, defining true press freedom. Let us read Hebrews chapter 12. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds. Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin, and ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom loveth he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh, which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? For they verily for a few days chastened us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. Follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. Looking diligently lest any man fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person, as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. For ye are not come unto the mount that might be touched, and that burned with fire, nor unto blackness and darkness and tempest, and the sound of a trumpet and the voice of words, which voice they that heard entreated, that the word should not be spoken to them any more. For they could not endure that which was commanded, and if so much as a beast touch the mountain, it shall be stoned, or thrust through with a dart. And so terrible was the sight, that Moses said, I exceedingly fear and quake. But ye are come unto Mount Zion, and unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly and church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to God the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect, and to Jesus the mediator of the new covenant, and to the blood of sprinkling, that speaketh better things than that of Abel. See that ye refuse not him that speaketh, for if they escape not who refused him that spake on earth, much more shall not we escape if we turn away from him that speaketh from heaven, whose voice then shook the earth. But now he hath promised, saying, Yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. And this word, yet once more, signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken, as of things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. Wherefore we, receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace, whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. For our God is a consuming fire.
We're back and you're still watching Newsline World. The Philippines and Germany both agreed to continue strengthening the two countries' climate cooperation while deepening people-to-people relations. On the other hand, the Philippines and Iran are eyeing high-level discussions after meeting with a new Iranian envoy. President Catarong reports.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. highlighted the significance of discussing the climate change mitigation and other important matters. Marcos accepted the credentials of new German ambassador Michael Pafernoschka in Malacanang on Thursday. The chief executive agreed that the partnership between the Philippines and Germany would highly benefit the country, especially in promoting the climate agenda in both the local and international settings. President Marcos and Ambassador Pafernoschka also recognized the thriving people-to-people connections between the Philippines and Germany, shown by the large population of Filipino overseas workers in the European nation. They expressed a shared commitment to nurturing these relationships and exploring opportunities for bilateral growth. The Philippines and Germany will mark the 70th anniversary of their diplomatic ties in 2024. On the other hand, the Philippines and Iran are eyeing initiating high-level contacts to tackle various areas of cooperation such as agriculture, trade and investment, technology, tourism, and people-to-people exchanges. Iranian Ambassador Youssef Azmalzadeh also paid a courtesy call to President Marcos in Malacanang as Iran's new resident ambassador to the Philippines. During their talks, President Marcos said the Philippines has much to learn from all its allies, friends, and partners around the world. The chief executive added that the number one priority of the Philippines right now is agriculture, as it tries to adjust to the agricultural terrain around the world with all the volatility in the global food supply system. President Marcos also stated that the existing memoranda of understanding agreed by the two countries could serve as a good basis for all their future collaborations in numerous areas. These include nanotechnology programs, tourism, biomedical devices, science and technology, and people-to-people exchanges. In agriculture, Iranian ambassador raised the possibility of organizing a barter with Iran, sending the Philippines fertilizer along with importing its tropical fruits. The Philippines and Iran established diplomatic relations on January 22, 1964. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Crescent Katarong, SMNI News.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Japanese party leader Yamaguchi Natsuo recently met at the Malacanang and discussed the increasing collaboration between Tokyo and Manila in the areas of security, defense, and trade. Here is Hannah Jane Sancho with the details.
President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. and Comeco Chief Party Representative Yamaguchi Natsuo met in Malacanang recently, opening doors to deeper Philippine-Japan relations, particularly in defense and maritime security. President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. has conveyed his positive outlook on enhancing relations with Japan, aiming for a broader partnership that encompasses not only trade and investment, but also security and defense aspects. Chief Executive emphasized that due to changing times, the Philippines-Japan relationship has evolved beyond trade to include crucial discussions on regional security and defense. President Marcos expressed appreciation for the support provided by the Japanese government, contributing to the country's security and defense efforts, aimed at upholding peace in Southeast Asia and among neighboring nations. On the other hand, Marcos voiced his concerns regarding North Korea's recent actions, which involved a series of missile launches and weapons tests that have raised Japan's state of vigilance. Japan, for its part, said it is inclined to enhance its collaboration with the Philippines, not only within traditional partnerships, but also by extending to defense and maritime security cooperation, as said by Comeco Party Chief Representative Yamaguchi Natsuo. Since Japan eased restriction on transferring foreign defense equipment and technology in 2014, the Philippines has gained from acquiring defense assets under an agreement signed in February 2016. This include the UH-1H helicopter parts and maintenance gear in 2019, HADR equipment in 2021, and ongoing TC-90 support program. Japan has also helped enhance the Philippines' maritime surveillance, including radar systems for the Coast Guard. Japan plans to provide the Philippine Coast Guard state-of-the-art satellite communication system that aims to boost the capability of the Philippines to monitor its territory, particularly in the West Philippine Sea. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Hannah Jane Sancho, SMNI News.
Japan marked the 78th anniversary of its surrender in World War II, but without its prime minister mentioning the wartime aggression in Asia. The emperor, on the other hand, expressed deep remorse over Japan's actions. Ria Saito has the details.
Japan commemorates the 70th anniversary of its surrender in World War II 3 months prior, when Prime Minister Fumio Kishida pitched his vision of global denuclearization during the Group of Seven summit held in Hiroshima. Despite uplifting restrictions for COVID-19, the ceremony was still held in a small scale through more than last year's 1,000 Nippon Budokan guested 1,900 people for the ceremony. In his speech at the annual ceremony in Tokyo, Kishida stated his concerns about the possibility of Russia deploying a nuclear weapon on its going war with Ukraine. The government-funded ceremony was held to mourn the deaths of Japan's 2.3 million military personnel and 800,000 600,000 civilians during the war. Around 1,700 participants observed a minute of silence for those killed in the atomic bomb dropped by America during the war. Meanwhile, regardless of his pitch of a world without nuclear weapons 3 months ago at the summit held in his home constituency, Hiroshima, Kishida did not refer to his vision of global denuclearization in his speech. To recall, the U.S. military dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima in August 1945, the move that forced Japan to surrender. Kishida also did not mention about Japan's wartime aggression in Asia following his predecessors, the late former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and Yoshihide Suga. Also present in the ceremony is Emperor Naruhito, who expressed his deep remorse as he has done on occasion since ascending the throne last May 2019. In addition, the emperor said to reflect on the past with deep remorse and hoped that the ravages of war will never be repeated again. 以上、日本からセクトリアにお伝えしました。SB9 News, Japan.
After 11 years of being in effect, Colombia seeks to amend a bilateral free trade agreement with the United States. Let's find out more from Margaret Percasio.
Recently, Colombian President Gustavo Petro said the United States-Colombian Trade Promotion Agreement, or TPA, bars his country from growing local strains of corn. Due to this, Colombia is also obligated to plant only strains produced in the U.S. and Canada instead. The statement was made Wednesday during a meeting with coffee growers, as the agreement is found to be harming Colombia's output and jobs. We import almost all of our corn from the United States and Canada. If I wanted to replace that corn with Colombian corn, I would create 1.2 million more jobs. In other words, wealth, Petro said. The United States-Colombian Trade Promotion Agreement, or TPA, entered into force on May 15, 2012. The TPA is a comprehensive free trade agreement that provides elimination of tariffs and removes barriers to U.S. services, including financial services. Over 80% of U.S. exports of consumer and industrial products to Colombia became duty-free upon enter into force, with remaining tariffs phased out over 10 years. Kevin Gallagher, Professor of Global Development and Director of the Global Development Policy Center at Boston University's Frederick S. Porty School of Global Studies, previously wrote that the said agreement will bring only small gains to Colombia, and this will come at a significant cost. Gallagher added that the said deal would dampen growth and make it harder for Colombia to put in place policies for innovation and industrialization. In addition, Colombia will have fewer tools to confront instability, thus forcing it to work twice as hard to maximize the benefits of the agreement. The TPA will also make it harder for Colombia to establish public policies that foster innovation, which are necessary to diversify the economy with higher value-added goods. And reducing tariffs will strip the government of funds needed for combating guerrillas, fighting crime, and developing economy. Meanwhile, Petro's critics have warned that imposing new tariffs on imports, which in turn would prompt the United States to engage in a tit-for-tat response, which in return would further harm the Colombian economy. This is Margaret Percasio reporting, SB9 News.
8 countries from the Arab region have formally applied to join BRICS, a coalition of rapidly developing economies that has positioned itself as an alternative to the Western-dominated global order and is challenging the dollar's dominance with plans to create its own currency. Melchizedekadis reports.
More countries are jumping on the bandwagon as they have openly expressed their intention to join BRICS. The BRICS nations are acronym for the combined economies of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are trying to position themselves as an alternative model to the group of 7 countries by offering a diplomatic forum and development financing outside of the Western mainstream. The 8 countries from the Arab region that have applied to BRICS membership are Algeria, Bahrain, Egypt, Kuwait, Morocco, Palestine, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, or UAE. BRICS officials last month said that 40 more countries are interested to join the bloc. Of this number, only 23 have officially requested to join the organization. Among other countries interested to join are Bangladesh, Iran, Kazakhstan, Nigeria, Senegal, Ethiopia, Belarus, Bolivia, Argentina, Venezuela, Vietnam, Cuba, Honduras, Indonesia, and Thailand. Meanwhile, BRICS leaders will hold a summit from August 22 to 24th to discuss the expansion of the group and the applications received from interested countries. Reporting, this has been Melchizedek Cadiz, SMNI News, Kuwait.
The United States is pushing Iran to stop selling drones to Russia as both sides attempt to ease tensions which have escalated in recent months. Jonathan Acobo tells us more.
Marhaba! American and Iranian officials held talks to de-escalate tensions amid efforts to revive an abandoned nuclear and as prisoner swap underway. Washington is pushing Iran to stop selling drones, including its spare parts, which Moscow is allegedly using in its ongoing war with Ukraine. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said he would welcome any steps from Iran to de-escalate its growing nuclear threat. Iran previously denied it has been supporting Russia with drones and described the allegations by the West as disappointing. According to Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian, the drones have been sold to Moscow a few months before Russia invaded Ukraine. Both sides are trying to revive talks regarding Iran's abandoned nuclear program, while a prisoner swap deal to unfreeze $6 billion in Iranian funds in South Korea are also underway. The news comes amid growing tensions in the Gulf region after U.S. deployed thousands of Marines and sailors in the Strait of Hormuz to increase its military presence. Tajubalak Almazimin Tahtiti at Karunibay Kanada Jota Nicobas My News, United Arab Emirates.
In another surprising move, Russia has released more evidence about the supposed biomilitary activities carried out by the United States, not only in Ukraine but also in other countries. Carlo De La Peña tells us more.
The Defense Ministry of Russia has previously released evidence about an alleged U.S.-financed military biological program being developed in Ukraine. And now the ministry released more evidence showing biomilitary activities carried out by the U.S. not only in Ukraine but also in other countries. Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, chief of the Nuclear, Biological, and Chemical Protection Troops of the Russian Armed Forces, said that the U.S. military activities pose security threats to many countries, and that these new documents obtained by Russia shows that the U.S. military has been advancing projects which mainly involved research on viruses and bacteria with potential of being used in biological weapons. Kirillov said the documents showed that the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases located in Fort Detrick was directly involved in activities such as collecting dangerous pathogens from various parts of the world and testing unregistered drugs, including biological programs in Ukraine, and that proved that the U.S. military is interested in pathogenic bacteria and viruses that are able to cause deadly diseases and pandemic, which can benefit biomedical companies in the United States. Reporting, this has been Carlo De La Peña, SMNI News.
Sweden pledged to send its 13th military package to Ukraine worth more than $313 million. Kiril Trinidad has the details.
Sweden's new military package bound for Ukraine includes ammunition and spare parts valued at around 3.4 billion crowns, or $313.5 million, which would be used for CV-90 infantry fighting vehicles, artillery systems, and Leopard 2 tanks. The aid will also include mine-clearing equipment and ammunition for air defense systems to prevent Russia from achieving air supremacy in Ukraine. Swedish Defense Minister Paul Johnson said that the country must prepare for the fact that a conflict could be a long-lasting war and that sending weapons to Ukraine could still take longer. Since January, Sweden has pledged to send its modern and powerful artillery system as well as endless shoulder-launched anti-tank missiles. As part of its 12th military package, Sweden announced it will allow Ukrainian pilots to start the test flight for Swedish Saab JAS 39 Gripen fighter jets, which is said to be one of the most reliable and best military aircraft in the world. The first 12 military aid packages sent by the Scandinavian country to Ukraine have been valued at around 17 billion kronor or $1.6 billion in total. Sweden has also donated around 5.2 billion kronor in humanitarian and civilian aid for the people of Ukraine. This has been Kirby Trinidad, SM9 News.
U.S. President Joe Biden plans to visit Maui next week after receiving waves of backlash for his controversial no-comment remark over the deadly wildfires. Anissa de Guzman has the details.
The painstaking search for the victims of the deadly blazes in Maui continues as thousands cope up with their own losses and hundreds more remain missing. The catastrophic wildfires left an unfathomable path of trail and destruction and nearly erased the historic port town of Lahaina from the map. More than 100 people were declared dead as search for both the living and the dead continues. After days of silence, U.S. President Joe Biden finally confirmed that he and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden will visit the Hawaiian island of Maui on Monday, August 21. Biden received waves of criticisms over a controversial remark this past weekend when a White House correspondent asked him about the rising death toll in Hawaii, to which he replied, "No comment," before heading home after spending a couple of hours at a beach in Delaware. In defense, Biden said he doesn't want to get in the way of the recovery efforts, while White House said he was getting in touch with the Federal Emergency Management Agency. The remark sparked fury among netizens, supporters, and political rivals, including former U.S. President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, the White House said the administration is taking steps to support the recovery efforts, such as the deployment of more than 500 federal personnel on the ground, and disaster loans are being made available, among others. The Biden administration earned another wave of criticisms after announcing a $700 aid for the wildfire victims, but will be sending $200 million in aid to support the war in Ukraine.
Thailand's first refined oil project, initiated by the largest oil and gas company in China, started operation earlier this week. Chatmong Konpisa Maiguzon reports.
Industry analysts hailed the construction of the first refined oil project in northeast Thailand, as it will not only significantly address the rising demand for refined oil products, but also improve local supply in the region. The project was constructed by China National Petroleum Corporation, or CNPC. CNPC is not only the largest oil and gas producer and supplier in China, but also one of the major oilfield service providers in the world. The strategic energy project boasts a 342-kilometer-long pipeline and passes through 5 provinces. It has an annual oil transmission capacity of 6 million metric tons. The initiative will greatly enhance the efficiency in delivering refined oil products in the region and better connect Thailand with neighboring countries. An analyst from strategic research provider Bloomberg NEF hailed Thailand as one of the fastest growing countries for oil demand in the Asia Pacific, with more than 3,000 barrels of oil consumed per day in 2022. รายงานจากราชบุรี นายชัดมงคล วิสมัยโกศล SMA News ประเทศไทย สวัสดีครับ
It has been approximately 6 decades since the inception of the TV series Astro Boy, a show that ignited visions of a future where humanoid robots could serve as companions to all. Today, the industrial landscape is rapidly advancing research and development in the domains of robotics, technology, and artificial intelligence, potentially propelling us toward the realization of that very aspiration. Ying Jr. introduces us to this promising advancement and potential companions of the future.
有什么我可以帮助你的吗？
能跟我握个手吗？好的，谢谢你。
Answering questions, shaking hands, acting as a tour guide, this robot is at home with it all.
Well beyond traditional bots that just run through pre-programmed motions, it can see, listen, and react to its surroundings, and it's what this robot maker has been working on since 2015. Different from industrial robots, the company says humanoid robots will be applied more in the service sector, and that there will be a growing demand for them.
工业型的机器人要求的是绝对的精度值，那服务机器人
We want industrial robots to do exactly what we have programmed them to do. But in the service sector, we need robots to somehow react to situations which they might encounter. And we believe the final form of service sector robots will be humanoid robots. There will definitely be a growing demand for them in the healthcare and elder care sectors.
健康养老等等这些方面都是很大的一个刚需。
Many machine automation suppliers, including this one in Shanghai, agree and have increased their investment in the sector as well. The company says people will be more willing to rely on humanoid robots as they can do many tasks that industrial robots are unable to do.
Only 20 to 30% of our products are humanoid robots. Unlike traditional robotic arms, humanoid robots have arms, feet, and eyes too. And they can do more complex tasks while traditional bots can only do some simple ones.
Recent advances in artificial intelligence are leading to more research in how to enhance the performance of humanoid robots. Shanghai's local government has long been speaking of the importance of innovation-driven development and has launched guidelines for developing high-end technology in the city's 14th five-year plan. Experts say that should attract many robot makers to do businesses in the city.
The concept of AI-powered robots is emerging, as we want them to do tasks that require more thinking. And Shanghai is focusing on the development of its AI industry. Also, I think Shanghai is leading in the ability to produce the core mechanical parts needed for a humanoid robot.
According to a recent report from Goldman Sachs, people-sized and shaped robots could be a $154 billion a year business within 15 years. Yna Mortel for CGTN Shanghai.
As India will make history on the moon, Russia's space agency Roscosmos has confirmed the Luna 25 automatic interplanetary station's successful entry into lunar orbit, heralding a significant step toward a historic landing. Justin Nazario has the details.
Russia's space agency Roscosmos has confirmed the Luna 25 automatic interplanetary station's successful entry into lunar orbit, heralding a significant step toward a historic landing on the moon's surface. Roscosmos declared that all systems on Luna 25 are operating normally, maintaining stable communication. The mission signifies Russia's maiden contemporary endeavor to land an automatic station on the moon. The mission aims to advance soft landing technology, analyze lunar soil, conduct extensive scientific research, and particularly scrutinize the moon's south pole and exosphere. Distinguishing itself from prior missions targeting the moon's equatorial region, Luna 25 is set to attempt a soft landing in the challenging polar terrain. The anticipated landing date is August 21. The Luna 25 mission launched on August 11 via the Soyuz 2.1B rocket from Russia's Vostochny Cosmodrome. The probe has successfully initiated research operations and begun transmitting data to Earth, which is undergoing analysis by the scientific team. Luna 25 continues the legacy of Russia's earlier lunar exploration endeavors and is named in homage to the Soviet-era program that dispatched 24 probes to the lunar surface from 1958 to 1976. The last time that Russia had a spacecraft on the moon was during its Soviet days, using Luna 24, which was launched 47 years ago. Meanwhile, Luna 1 was launched as part of the Soviet lunar program in 1959, the first human-made to reach the heliocentric orbit. Russia's lunar mission coincides with India's Chandrayaan-3 lunar lander, which was launched on July 14 and entered lunar orbit on August 5. India's lunar lander is currently lowering its orbit in preparation for its landing attempt expected to happen on August 23. Amid the speculations of a so-called lunar race, due to the renewed global interest of various countries sending their spacecraft to the moon, only China has landed successfully so far this century via Chang'e 3, 4, and 5. Reporting, this is Minister Nazaria as Yna News.
And before we end, may be inspired with the message of the appointed Son of God. I have peace because the Father is with me. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For more news update, you may visit smnanewschannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Yna Mortel. Thank you for watching Newsline World, and thank you to our beloved pastor, Pastor Apollo C. Kuble, for the opportunity to be a part of this program. May you continue to listen on SMNI as it delivers nothing but fair, truthful, and balanced news, because SMNI is your source of credible news.